Lights are a pretty nice thing to have whenever you're making videos. Sadly, most studio lights have a pretty hefty price tag on them, so I was quite happy to find these cheap 400-watt super light fixtures on eBay, with space for both softbox and umbrellas. However, these lights all came wrapped individually in these, and these, and these, and a couple of extra fuses. This is just messy packaging and really prone to damage, and weirdly enough I could not find any better solutions online, even though these lights are quite popular. So in this episode I will build proper storage units for my new studio lights. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and welcome to Portrait Studio. Yes, so now for the part of the video where I just ramble aimlessly about something. Anyway, as usual I do some sketching before any project and also before any video, because I want to show the whole design process instead of just starting to build stuff for you. Anyway, as you can see here, I'm starting off with two designs, one of which is just a box version where I just place the studio lights in, and another one where I disassemble the whole studio light and place the bulbs and the attachments for the bulbs separately. I didn't know what I wanted at first, and quite frankly I thought I was going to make something that I would have to disassemble the whole studio light first. Just because I thought it would be simpler and it would be easier to keep everything protected and just make the whole thing smaller. But after a while I just realized, well, it will just be easier to have everything assembled and just pull out the whole thing whenever I needed it. Anyway, you always need to do some sketching before you do any kind of project like this, because you may actually stumble upon something that is actually better than your first thought. Anyway, now I'm going to do some rendering here, and well, I like doing the rendering on my sketches with traditional in traditional medium more than I do digital actually. Why? Well, for me, at the moment, it is still a lot quicker to do it traditionally, because I'm trying to be too careful and too perfect when I do it in digital. Here, with the traditional mediums, it just flows more. It just gets out on paper quickly. I don't sit on the computer and just fiddle around and try to make every single line count and make everything perfect. Here, it is a little bit messy, but the sketches will have some character, and I just like doing it. And as usual, when you're doing something in traditional, you do the lighter colors first, or the lighter values first, before you jump over to the darker ones. Here I'm using a couple of peach colors and a walnut color for the wood texture. Here's the walnut right here. I'm using Pro markers. I actually like Shin Hand Touch markers a bit more, but Pro markers is the one that is more easily available here in Sweden. And also the smaller pens here, they are Faber-Castell brush pens that I use. And well, there's not really much more I can say about that. Just be careful here with the lines, make it presentable, and just show whatever it is you need to show. But many young designers have a nasty habit of not really showing what needs to be shown, meaning functions, special features, or just the whole image of all the thing. And that was something I needed to practice first when I got into design. It's just really knowing what to present and what features you really need to show. And a sketch like this, they are really good for the hardware store personnel, because I gone into a hardware store a couple of times and just asked, "Hey, I'm building stuff. Can you help me?" And then trying to describe it by words just doesn't work very well. So having a nice sketch like this, it will get people helping you rather quickly. And yeah, most stores will actually have people that are quite helpful. And yeah, I like to buy my stuff in stores more than I like buying them on the internet these days, just because there is people who can help you. Even though I go home and buy them online afterwards anyway. Now the sketch is almost finished, and I can start talking about the materials. For this build, I was going to use some triangular floor girder, some 3mm plywood, and also to strengthen some parts, I was going to use some square dowel. However, nothing of this will be good if I don't know how much of all the materials that I need. So first things first, I assembled one of the lights and started measuring. And I knew I would need a box that was bigger than the actual light in order to, yeah, just to make sure that I have room for it, and also to make sure that I have room for some insulation as well. Now, I started out by measuring everything and try to sort as carefully as possible. For this, I really did need these two boards that I have on the plywood here. Otherwise, the whole thing was just too damn flimsy in order to saw. And also, a Japanese saw that you see me use here is really good on this kind of project. It does make really fine cuts, and it just flows through the wood like butter. I don't know. It's just fantastic. Anyway, I made a few long strips and then clamped them together in order to cut out all the sides. And yeah, just try to be as efficient with the materials as possible. And also, I tried other saws here. This is a Stanley saw here. I didn't really like it, so I went back to the Japanese saw. And anyway, when everything is cut out, I would start preparing for the glue up. Now, in this glue up, I didn't do any complicated joinery here, or any kind of box joinery. I just made the regular old 45-degree glue method, meaning just make a 45-degree angle on the edges and then just glue it all together. However, with 3mm plywood like this, it is so hard to saw with any saw, really. So I just decided to do it with a small hand plane. And I went plain crazy on this project. I bought, I think, 3 or 4 planes that I could use for this project. And the most useful ones here was the little hand planes that I bought, actually. So I have two small hand planes, and one that is actually made for wall color in order to prepare the walls for painting. It was the best one. It was also one of the smallest ones. Anyway, for a simple glue up, I used a piece of masking tape on all the edges, on all the seams. That's the correct word. And in order to make them fall together like this, and then I used what's it called, a frame clamp, two of them in order to clamp the whole thing together. And after I had glued up with all the boxes, I decided to trim up some of the edges, because I just make them level, both from the bottom and the top. And this is just to make them look a little bit pretty, and just to make sure I don't look like a complete fool. Now, after the initial trimming, I decided to do the bottoms on the boxes. Now, I did overcomplicate this. Do not do what I did here. What I did, I tried to make a small bottom plate that would fit inside the box, and the box would actually encapsulate it. However, I decided, I realized afterwards that it was actually quite complicated method, and it just didn't look good in the end. So when I made a box for my cousin, I decided to make an oversized plate to glue on the box, and then right off the edges, and that made a really clean edge that you can see there, and it was just so much better. This method here, it just requires so much fiddling, so much trimming with the hand plane and saw. You just go nuts. However, now I didn't really trust my glue up of the boxes or anything really when it came to gluing here, so I decided to use the triangular floor girder in order to brace up the edges and just to make it all a lot stronger. And also, I did complicate things here because I had glued on the bottoms before the girders, and as you could see, I had to use some old kebab skewers in order to press down the girders to the sides. Now, I am doing the insert for the base, or what you call it? The support base for the actual lamp. And this is just pretty simple. Two pieces of plywood fitted together, and they just need to be high enough in order to hold the lamp in an upright position, and and just hold it tightly in place so it won't fall out or damage itself. And yeah, this is just a measure redo until I can get a good shape out of the cardboard here. And after I was done with the cardboard, I just used some regular copy paper and made a nice shape out of it in order to place onto the plywood. Now, for the plywood here, I decided to first drill a hole in the middle where the pieces would intersect. And also, this is a good way to make sure that the pieces can relocate each other and fall into each other rather nicely if I would lose, if they would fall apart at some point. Now I had placed the blade to dremel scrolls here in a floor way. It was upside down actually, so I didn't realize that. So I cut off a good chunk of the plywood here first by hand. But then I refitted the blade, and I could use the saw like this, and it worked fantastically. I can definitely recommend getting a small scroll saw like this if you're gonna do any projects like this. And then I went with a file just to make the shapes a little bit better, and just make it look a little bit more professional, or just nicer, really. And this is what it looks like when they're done. Just standing upright like that, and a studio light can be placed into them. And also, to make sure they are strengthened enough, I glued some extra girder into the edges in order to make them, in order to strengthen them all, in order to make this, and in order to make them stand up. Now, I decided to strengthen the lid of the boxes a little bit because I thought the lamps will actually bump up to it, and I just didn't want it to come apart. So what I did, I made some squares out of the square dowel, and this was done with the same process as the boxes with 45-degree angles on the wood, and then just clamp it together with a frame clamp. And you don't need frame clamps for this type of work, but it makes it all so much easier. I will show another way that I clamped these together here, but it just takes a little bit more clamps. You need to have a quite large clamps in order to show it, in order to do it, I should say. And the clamps here, this is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like with regular clamps, and this is what it looks like with frame clamps. And here's the assistant, assisting in the build. The cat's name is Vilda, by the way. Now, when the glue had dried on the squares, I decided to give them all a little bit of a chamfer. And this has no other function than just looking good, and it gives the whole thing a little bit more, a little softer impression, not oppression. And I just realized that the edges were really sharp, and you could actually catch yourself on them. So the chamfer was necessary. Now for the lids. Now, unfortunately, I didn't do the glue up on the boxes well enough, so they weren't actually square completely. So I needed to trim all of the lids individually for every single box, and in order to give them the correct rhombic shape that they eventually had. You can make your boxes complete square if you have long enough clamps that I didn't have for this project, but I eventually bought afterwards. So if I would do this again, I would place a clamp on the longer side of the boxes in order to clamp them into a perfect square next time. Anyway, the squares went on like this with a couple of clamps onto the lids. Very uninteresting, just make sure you have enough clamps to make it all stick. And also, when you do this, make sure that you forget to remove all the excess glue, so you will have some more happy times in order to fix it. Yeah, I was lazy here. I just didn't remove it, so I had to remove it all here in this step afterwards. Also, those blocks you could see there, I made those in order to attach the hinges to, or at least the hinges that I thought I would use. Unfortunately, as you will soon see, the hinges that I tried to use just didn't fit very well, and I just couldn't make them fit properly, so I had to make my own. But anyway, as I finish up the glue removal here, I can start thinking about the painting here. I decided to use some old stain, I think it's called, in order to give these boxes some character, and also to hide some mistakes that I made. And yeah, it just doesn't look very well. It's just plain wood, I think. Anyway, I found an old can of stain that I loosened up and made it a little bit more viscous. And yeah, the can was just older than me, I think. So this was the last thing that this can of stain was used for. So after 30 years of use, it could finally be thrown into the garbage. Anyway, I'm only coated all the boxes in one coat. I didn't need more, and the wood grain came out really nicely with the stain here. And it just gave the whole all the boxes some really lovely texture, and it gave it quite a weathered look. Really, it just looked awesome. Now I realized that I wanted the supports for the lights to stand properly, so I needed to give them a little concave shape at the bottom in order to follow the imperfections that the bottoms of the boxes would unfortunately have. So yeah, a quick trimming on the sander, on the drill, and I was done with that. In order to protect the wood, I decided to put a couple of coats of lac on everything as well, and that's also a way to make it all look nicer. So first of all, a quick little sand off with a really fine sandpaper, then a couple of coats of stain lacquer, and this was actually a lacquer designed for stain that we also had bought a few years ago, and yeah, it just made everything look so much better. And also do this before you assemble everything; it will be so much easier. Now this is what my original hinges look like, and as you can see, it just looks awful. So I needed to remove those, and just try to make my own. And how to do this? Well, I had more plywood, so let's make them out of more plywood. So what to do? Now this is another thing where you can be creative. So I thought, hey, maybe I should make some kind of nice shape out of this. And I decided to make a couple of trees or flowers or something onto these hinges, and just make them look special. So for that, I first measured out a little piece of the square dowel that I had left, and that was going to be the main piece of the hinge that would hold the pin. And then I just made the hinges like this with top and bottom, and just draw on some sort of image. I made a forest, a birch tree, I think I made, and also a couple of snakes winding themselves up some pole. And yeah, this was kind of fun. And this is a really fun project for you to do for anything that needs hinges, or, well, anything else really. And just give it some kind of some ornament like this, and just make it all look good. So yeah, I'm just finishing up a tree there. I have the birch in the middle and also the snake painting on the side here, and have decided to give it another snake, mostly in order to give it more function and make that hence more durable. So here the Dremel scroll also became handy again, and I just saw that all the bits on the saw here, and then I went over to go over everything with files and just make it all smooth and look pretty. And that's what it's going to look like, sort of, when it's all finished. Anyway, smoothing off with small files here, and also now I was going to make some sort of grooves in order to accentuate the imagery of the hinge. I tried to do some ship cover here with a really flawed knife, and I just didn't like that because I wanted to try to do it. However, this job was a lot simpler to do with the Dremel, which I eventually did all the pieces out of in the end anyway. Now I'm gluing on the piece that is supposed to hold the pins and the holes for the hinges here. And well, there's nothing more to it than that. I kept all the pieces together until this stage in order to make sure I had something to hold it in. And it's also easier to shape all the pieces like this when they are attached to each other like this, rather than having them separated. Also, having an extension for the Dremel like this made the whole process a lot easier. Now, in order to shape the dowel blocks, first of all, just mark out where the round bits are going to be, and also where the hole in the middle will eventually end up. And once again, my small planes came in handy here, and it is so quick and so easy in order to using these little planes. So do get a pair. You will not regret it. And after a bit of sanding, and yeah, the hinges are starting to look okay. So now for the holes. Now I should have been more careful when I did this. Unfortunately, not all the holes here were centered enough, and they actually became rather wonky. And yeah, this is also a lot of a learning as I go kind of process here. So I needed to expand the holes a little bit as well in order for the pins to have some wiggle room. And that is mostly just because I made a bad job of the holes. You shouldn't really have to do that if you do the holes well. Anyway, here's what all the hinges look like, and they need to be rounded off a little bit extra on some places, just to make sure they fit together properly. Yeah, and here's what all the hinges look like when the blacks are done. Now I decided to make these hinges be gold colored, or at least brass colored, in order for them to fit together with locks that actually did work and could be attached without much trouble. So a couple of layers of spray paint, a couple of layers of lacquer, and then what's done. So now in order to fit the hinges to the boxes, first a little bit of glue, just to make sure they hold properly, and then I actually decided to screw them in place in order to make sure they really hold up, and to make sure they really won't come off. So the glue process was quite simple, with some tape holding the pieces together, and then I just drilled through both hinges and boxes in order to attach the screws. I did not want to try to just pull the screws right through everything, because that would just crack everything, and everything at this point is still quite delicate. So hand screws, small screws into the box here, and these were actually brass screws that I could find, which made me really happy, or at least brass plated screws. So now this time I did actually remember to remove the excess glue, and then I after glue up and screw up, I could remove the tape, remove the the extra pins, and that was there. And now the hinges work great. Now, to attach the locks, this is the method I tried to use for the hinges originally, but didn't work. What I tried to do here is to nail a couple of nails through the boxes by drilling holes first, and just attach them. And then just rivet the locks in place, as you can see here. I place the blocks on the pins. I remove the axis nail and then just rivet them in place like this. If you're going to do this yourselves, get a small anvil or something, or at least some sturdy metal piece behind it, so it won't. So the nails won't come out of the box, because I had a problem, and yeah, this was actually quite awkward, but it looked kind of nice afterwards. So a little bit clearer here, nails through the box, then attach the lock part, then remove the excess nail, and then just rivet it in place. And my screw piece here came handy lots of times here in order to attach these. Now this unfortunately I missed there a little bit, so they actually became a little bit crooked. So this isn't the best method, but it does work, and it looked rather fine afterwards. So yeah, that's what the backside looks like, and it doesn't look very like much. And I needed to remove the extra screw heads on the back of the boxes here, just to make it look pretty. Now for the support in the middle, I decided to screw the support in place as well. So in order to find the middle of the support and the box, I drilled a hole through the box and also through the middle of the support here, and then used a little nail in order to center the support inside the box. And then I marked up where we want some extra screws in order to make sure that the support base can't be pared off in the middle, because there will actually be some extra force on this support pillar, because it will actually be pressing on the studio lights and the with the installation material that I was going to use for this. So I had at this point I had already glued the base into the bottom, and now I just screwed in some extra support screws, and yeah, these wouldn't show in the box afterwards if I had done it right. Now I am almost done. I just needed to do some extra touch up on the hinges. For this, I just used a little cotton tweezer, and just sprayed on some spray paint onto a small lid here, and then just paint in place where it's needed to be. And now I can finally start attaching the insulation material. Yay! Almost done. So for this, I bought one of the studio lights back in, and then I used some floor insulation. This is actually used for floor flooding, in order to keep some places free from glue when you're gluing in linoleum carpets or something. And it worked perfectly for this. It already had a glue on background, so it was I just needed to remove the protective tape, and I could just glue the insulation in place. And I decided to just make 4 pieces on the support structure, and that held the studio light in place well enough, so it wouldn't fall out of the box, and also it wouldn't move around inside the box. So it is completely supported and protected here. And this is the final result: 3 sturdy boxes to protect the 3 really delicate studio lights. And yeah, they turned out better than I really hoped they would. And as you can see here, the support material is on the support base, and it keeps the studio light tight and snug inside the box. And this is so much better than the cardboard boxes that it came in.
That's it for me. Join me next time when I'll be doing something completely different. Of course, the methods used in this video can be used on any other product and can be used for your studio lights or whatever storage unit or, well, anything you need. So if you like this video, please help out the Google algorithm by clicking like, subscribe, and also share this video with anyone you like. And until next time, take care of one another. Goodbye.
Bloopers.
Lights are pretty nice things to have when you're making videos. Sadly, most proper studio lights space for with with space with both softboxes and umbrellas. Lights the pretty hefty price tag. Softboxes and umbrellas. Softboxes and umbrellas. 400 watt.